Hi, Marty Stevens-Heebner. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Scott?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I've been looking forward to this because you're always so much fun to talk to.
Likewise.
Yeah, and I really like that right before we started that you got all of the profanity out of the way, you just rattled it off and got it out of your system.
Well,
It
I'm
was
happy to
wonderful.
provide more if you'd like me to, but that might keep your editor really busy.
I'm normally the one that would say yes, but I'm going to hold off this time. If it comes out naturally, it comes out naturally. Yes. And so, thanks for being here. You've been a friend for a long time, and we've referred each other business for so many years. Some really interesting deals too that we worked on together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one in particular, but I'll go over that later because I want to talk
Okay.
about you first. So, Marty, you're with Clear Home Solutions, and you always say that you're the one person to call if with anything to do with stuff.
Anything
And so,
seniors and or stuff, just give me a shout. Yeah, Clear Solutions. I'm the founder and CEO, and
mhm,
I launched this back in 2013. And we were officially called senior move managers. What it means
mhm,
is we take all the stress out of dealing with the stuff because it's not
mhm,
just moving things from one place to another or selling them or inventorying them. There is so much emotion around our possessions because our possessions
right.
tell our story in so many ways. And especially if people have lived in their home for 40 years uh,
Hmm.
and suddenly they have to go through everything in the home. Well, that's where we come in because this is our métier. This is what we do. And we love doing it because it's such an honor to work with people because they're letting us into their homes.
Hmm.
And we love hearing their stories. I'm very particular about who I will hire. I like to say we're friendly nerds who can't sit still. That's us.
Hmm.
So we want to hear all the stories and also be efficient. Our tagline is where compassion meets know-how. So we love to be efficient, but
Oh,
every so often, you know this, Scott, because you sit there and it's such an emotional time, not just for the older adults, but for everybody in the family. And it's so important to sit there and listen, and it's fascinating. You know how patient.
that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
the fact that you care so much makes a big difference.
Aw.
So you're not in there just to move stuff and make money. Clearly, you want to support yourself and you want to make money.
Well,
Granted,
don't we
but
all?
it's nice that that be able to do that while you care about people and being able to help people at the same time.
It's such a wonderful profession. It's also been very kind to me. It's just, but, and just like you deal with real estate and you're
Hmm.
missing such a burden for people. And it's the same thing for us. We just know, even every so often, we'll get a cantankerous client, but it's really quite rare. Uh,
Hmm.
but even then, you know that you eased a burden. And
Right.
it's great to, you go home at the end of the day, like it's feeling that, and it's pretty great.
Well, I've always heard such great things about you, but not just that's not all I know, though. I know through working with you how you work. And I remember there was a deal, I don't even know if I told you this, a while back, there was a deal over in Bell Canyon that you referred me
Oh, yeah.
into.
Yeah.
And I went in there and I said, well, what are you going to do with this? Marty's got it. So what are you going to do with this? Oh, this is the plan. Well, what about this? It was like they were so relaxed because they knew that you already had that. And one of the most stressful things, I mean, there's a lot of stress when you in this kind of situation, is when you deal with this stuff with the sentimental items, and then
Oh, yeah.
do I throw away this glass? Do I not? And I just loved hearing the way people talked about you. And
Oh,
then when we work together too, when we network together, it's like a love fest for you always.
oh,
And so,
and for
yeah, I really love. Yeah, there we go, there we go. But I do love referring you because I know you're going to make a great impression, and you're going to go out of your way to help people, and you're going to take the stress off their plate. So
well,
those are just,
right back at you, Scott. I
all right,
mean,
go
you
ahead,
are
give it to
just
me, give it to
you're
me.
I know, no, seriously, you're so affable. You're so great, and you're a great connector. And that means not only do you know a lot of people and you love to introduce people, which is lovely, but also you really connect with them. You're a great listener.
Thank you.
You can be very funny, but you have such a big heart and you're so compassionate. That's what it takes. And plus, on top of it, when you are in the process of selling somebody's home, you have
Hmm.
that director's eye. You get the drone
Oh,
footage, you
thank
take all
you.
these amazing photographs. It's remarkable what you do.
'Cause you know what? It's so great when I Zelled you that money earlier. Gave you some bullet
Oh, I gotta go
points, and you
look.
just nailed it. You totally nailed it.
But
I
it's
do have
so
one more thing I want to say about you because I really like this. There was another deal that we did. There's multiple deals. There's another one actually was in Bell Canyon, so it's weird, but it just happens to be with a family that was going through a real hardship, and
oh,
this big time lawyer that was about to lose his house. And I'm going like, how does this happen to someone
yeah.
who's so smart and so prepared? And then I realized, oh, there's so much going on in his life and at home that I can't go into because I never want to give it away somehow. That it was so challenging, and I remember going in there and meeting the family and going like, "Oh my gosh, it was so hard." They were going through such a tremendous thing, and I remember in this particular case, um, that moving a bunch of the stuff out, it was going to be very, very, very delicate. And I knew I was so comfortable knowing, okay, I know that you could handle it. And you went in there, helped them out, took the burden off them, and you just treat them like gold. And it really made a difference. And so at the end of it, instead of losing the home and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, you came in as a key piece in helping us go to market instead of just having it taken. And it was like an extra 350,000 they made because the team came together. And it's not just me. I love the fact that I know someone like you because that makes me look good and I know we're going to do great. But so I know the people to call in, but you did your part beautifully. And so I thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I actually I have to give the kudos to my colleagues, my wonderful field staff. They're the ones
Uh-huh.
I used to do it when I first started in 2013, but now I have to run the company, all the fun stuff, the finances, the HR, the insurance, all that fun stuff. I miss
Uh-huh.
working with clients. I miss working with clients so much. My staff, they are wonderful at it. My colleagues do such a superb job. And so really they're the ones who get those accolades because and they love it. They just knock themselves out. They love it. They love helping the families.
That's awesome. I love it. That's what I love hearing. And so it's great to know you because the business I do, and plus it's so easy to refer you. So it's like it's a win-win, love situation.
It is. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm right there with
And
you.
so tell me, because now we've had real estate heaven so far. So now let's pivot for a moment. Let's pivot for a moment. Tell us, because I can only imagine some of the stuff that you've gone through, some of the houses that you've walked into, some of the emotions that you walked into. I mean, give us a couple of real estate hell stories
Well,
that you feel comfortable with sharing.
yeah, I've written the book, How to Move Your Parents and Still Be on Speaking Terms, and there are so
Uh-huh.
many stories in that. It's after it's so 2013. It's 2025, so 12 years of doing this.
Uh-huh.
It's quite remarkable. I mean, you know this too because the stories you have. I'll start, I guess, with the skull in the box. That was
Wait.
that's
Skull in a box.
the skull in a box.
Oh man, you gave me the title right out of the gate. Thank you. You're making it easy on me.
God,
Skull in a box.
the skull in a box. Now, my wonderful colleagues were working with a fiduciary who's just superb, and it was a home in Tahunga, and it was a hoarding situation. We love a good
Mm-hmm.
hoard, but it was a hoarding situation. And oh yes, we
We love a good
do.
hoard.
We love a good hoard. And the parents had already been moved to assisted living, and they had a son who was he ended up being conserved, or he had a guardian assigned because he really
Sure.
needed it. And I'm in the office, and we use Slack for team communication, and I get this message, and I remember it was Kate. She said, we found a skull in a box. How would you like us to handle this, or something like that? And of course, kept my cool, and I wrote back, "Holy crap, are you okay?"
Oh my
Because I was like,
gosh.
yeah, at this point, I'm sure you feel the same way. Like nothing surprises me anymore, especially after that. Nothing
Right.
surprises me anymore. And so, 17 cop cars later, it turns they identified it as actually it was a skull, but it was used for dentistry. So
Mm-hmm.
as a model. So I just okay, that's what it is. That's what it is. But yeah, a skull in a box. I was like, okay, so long as this wonderful fiduciary says you can leave, you can leave. And the
Mm-hmm.
fiduciary said, yes, absolutely. Just just go. And she handled all the cops. And yeah, 17 cop cars. I guess it was a very slow day in Tahunga that day. So that was fascinating. Of course, it makes for a great story. Uh,
Yes, yes. So that's usually people come up with there was a possum or this or that, but you, nah, no, skull in a box. I like it.
it was nuts. You never know what you're going to find in a hoarding situation. When we're working with clients, it's a treasure hunt because they've often
Hmm.
lived in their home for at least 20 years, if not more. We once moved
Hmm.
a man who was moving out of the home he was born into, and he was 89.
Hmm.
We were really worried how he'd do in assisted living, and it turns out he had a great time because he only lived in that home. He's like, he was good. He was good.
Yeah, he was probably a popular guy.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I have no doubt he is very popular. But
Hmm.
you just never know what you're going to find. But it becomes a treasure hunt because there are things that you discover in the back corners of closets, something they forgot that was up in the attic. So yeah, those fun little treasures you find. Now, a hoard is more of an archaeological dig.
Uh-huh.
The treasure's there, but it takes longer to find, and you get really dirty while you're doing it. So
Uh-huh.
that's the best way I could kind of explain it. I'm trying to think. Every so often, we've had a nasty client, but that's rare. We did have
Hmm.
we did have we had one woman who she was living in an assisted living community that was going to be
Hmm.
completely like gutted and refurbished. So everybody had to move to somewhere else, and so we were moving her from one assisted living community to another, and she had to downsize. She had mobility issues, and she definitely, shall I say, liked her stuff. She loved her clothing. She didn't want to let go of anything. And as we're going through stuff, we ended up basically, like a bathroom countertop. Maybe it was the part of the kitchen counter, but like an entire countertop full of preparation H tubes and stuff. And this is the thing that people don't understand about not being organized is when you can't find something, you go buy another one. And so it actually costs you, you're spending money you don't need to spend. But so many of
Uh-huh.
them were completely expired. So it's just that was unusual. That was an unusual one. Unusual. And then the I'll leave you with this one. There was and this is when I was still working in the field. It was up in Palmdale, and Palmdale has become quite a lovely place. But this was
Uh-huh.
out in like the Palmdale where the tumbleweeds roll, and it's
Sure.
yeah, a little wild west feel. And we'd been hired by a sister to help her brother, who definitely had some issues going on. Their
Hmm.
sister had passed away, and it had been her home, and they lived together in that home. And he had sent his sister in Alaska a bunch of different photos, and you could tell there was stuff there, but he was being very coy with that camera. We get there, and it's even just the back porch. There was this little trail we could get through.
Uh-huh.
It was and he was definitely an unusual character. I could tell you scads of stories about him. But the thing that I really remember is it was finally time, it's like, okay, let's take on the garage. Let's see what we got.
Uh-huh.
And I had Kate on this side, I had Kathy on this side. And so as I'm pulling the garage door up, my stomach is dropping to the ground along
Uh-huh.
with my colleagues because it was a three-dimensional puzzle. Like it all came about this close to the door and maybe
Uh-huh.
that far from the ceiling, and it was just all put together.
Like Tetris.
Yeah, it was Tetris, and it's one of those things where I was in charge, and so I knew we had to move forward. So I just thought, gulp, okay, think of something. And so I said, well, we're going to start over here on the left, and we're going to start going through this first layer and make it over to the
Uh-huh.
right, and then we're going to go at figuring that if that didn't work, we could change the plan, but at least like get us started somewhere. That was unbelievable. Just the amount of stuff that was in there was really wild. And another thing with hoards too is sometimes you discover undiscovered rooms. Undiscovered
Hmm.
rooms. It was
Ooh.
true. It was true with this one because we cleared away the hoard, and there was a room behind it with all kinds of interesting Polaroids, shall we say?
Ah. Okay, that sounds weird right out of the gate. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
go there
it
because I
was
don't want to get in
weird.
trouble.
Yes, it really was. And
Uh-huh.
not violent, but just shall we say,
Uh-huh.
a little private and a bit
Hmm.
out there. And my poor colleague Todd at that point, he's the one who found the Polaroids. He says, my retinas will never recover from
Oh
this.
my gosh. Oh gosh.
So
I
it's
walked in.
fascinating.
I walked into a garage once with a guy that was great friends with Hugh Hefner. So, and he was one of the biggest real estate tycoons back in the day. And for some reason, he wanted me to sell his place. And I walked into his garage, and it was like every centerfold that you've ever had. And then there's pictures with him and the girls, and he's not thinking anything of it. And so I'm thinking, like, gosh, do we keep this? Don't we? And I went like, what am I thinking? Because if you have something, like when I sold Julian Barbary's house, there was a vanity wall, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful and classy and professional. She goes, "What do you think? Should I keep it?" I said, "Heck yeah!" And keep the closet with all the fancy shoes. We're going to lean into all this Hollywood glam. It's awesome. But with this guy who was friends with Hefner, I'm going like, oh, sorry, we really can't lean into it. And guess what? He wouldn't take it down. He would not take it down. I'm like,
He
oh
was
gosh.
showing off. He wanted to show off.
You know what? I think he was. I think
Yeah.
he was. He was, showed off that, he was a big realtor back, not a realtor, but a developer on big,
Yeah.
big, big projects back in the
Yeah.
day, who he hung out with. And there was a lot of attractive women. So I'm going like, okay, I get it, but you're going to turn off a lot of people. I'm not judging. I'm just saying you're going to turn
Right.
off a
Right.
lot of people. It is what it
Realistically.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was so fun.
Yeah. We and we often help with it. The depersonalization really of it
Uh-huh.
all to make it feel more generic. So as you know all too well, the personal photos come down and things like that. So people,
Uh-huh.
potential buyers, can project themselves right into living in that space.
Right.
It's a
Right. Well, that's what we
fascinating
do.
thing.
Sometimes what I do is I tell people, look, take down most of it, but if you have a couple things that really, really touch your heart, it gives it a little flavor, a little warmth. Let's not go crazy, and so it's interesting because people start taking everything down. All of a sudden, it's like there's nothing. I go, okay, okay, we can start with this. We can do this. You
Yeah.
want to hear something? You know what's funny? We're 17 minutes in, and I've already got too much stuff. You're too good. You're
Uh,
just you are too freaking good.
I
And
talk
you
a
didn't
lot. Yeah.
and you didn't say fuck once. I'm so proud of
and I
you.
di- and I didn't say shit either.
No, God, I'm so proud of you. I
And I
was,
sneak my book in there. Yeah.
no.